Hello, my loves. Hopefully, the sound on this particular podcast isn't too annoying. I am recording in my living room. It's been a really blustery day here in Scotland, so my office is a bit noisy. I have a washing machine going on. I have builders next door, but don't get distracted by the noise. Let's focus on the message. So today I am speaking about saying no, making decisions, creating boundaries. It's a podcast with just my good self today. And I hope that it gives you lots to think about, because I know this is an area that I really, really struggled with. And to this day, it's an area that I constantly have to work at. But what I'm saying yes to, what I'm saying no to, am I sticking to my boundaries? What are my boundaries? All of these things. So I actually have a chapter in my book called So What? Saying no and creating boundaries. So if you want a deeper dive and loads of support into this subject, then go check that out. You'll find lots of helpful advice and information there. So my book is called Be Free, a holistic guide to freedom from anxiety, stress, and low mood for life. And you can find that on Amazon or Waterstones or Barnes and Noble if you're in the States, pretty much anywhere. And if you struggle to find it, it's also on my website. So go check it out and take a look. But I wanted to start off just by sharing this quote with you from the beautiful Brene Brown. If you haven't discovered her work, go and check out Brene. Her work is amazing. I'm sure you will find it super inspiring. And here we go. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Disappointing others. Now, that is the area that I struggled with and find the most uncomfortable. That fear of letting somebody else down. You know, it's quite an ingrained behavior, that people pleasing. And eventually it got me to be a complete stressed, anxious mess, doing way too much. And the thing is, we actually have a choice. So did you know that? Do you know that you actually have free will and a choice? Now, this isn't something that unfortunately comes naturally. I would say if you suffer from anxiety, stress, burnout, depression, overwhelm, you will probably most likely fall into the people-pleasing category, I would imagine, whereby you want to try and keep people happy. You don't want to upset anyone. So you end up taking on more, and at the same time, you end up burning yourself out. So saying no and having the ability to say no can feel quite challenging. And what I would say is, there's nothing for you to feel guilty for by saying no to something. What will really support you in this practice is considering your health, working out what is important to you. Your health needs to come first, because if you keep saying yes, 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 like I did, you won't be able to continue to say yes, because that choice will be removed from you, because you will be so burnt out, overwhelmed, and probably sad and disappointed and maybe even resentful that, saying yes will not even be a possibility anymore. So I'm going to take you through some ways how to learn to say no. And it is a practice. And then I'm going to discuss why I this year have written out at the front of my diary some decision-making questions. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to show you just to prove they're here. Down at the bottom of my diary, decision-making questions. And I'm going to go through those with you at the end of this podcast, because you might like to create your own decision-making questions. And this will really help support you in creating those boundaries, and it enables you to make better, more informed decisions. Because often the yesing is kind of almost like a gut reaction. Oh, yes, I can do that. Oh, yes, I can do that. Yeah, no problem. Even though you're knee deep in work or whatever else you have going on in your family life. So one of the first things that you can learn about saying no is learning to pause. Now, things like meditation, mindfulness, all these things will help reduce that reactivity to people asking questions of you or asking things of you, which can be really, really helpful. But taking time to pause, you need to pause so that you have that opportunity to check in to see if what you're being asked is really going to serve you. And this will allow you just that time to consider things authentically. Does this align with you? You know, you can say things such as, okay, let me just double check that dates. Let me just check my diary and get back to you before you have to respond. Okay, now we are in a world where kind of people instantly responding has become the norm. And I would try and pull away from that. Let us, all you podcast listeners and me and my good self, let's change that. Let's mix that up. We do not need to respond to people straight away. You can respond to people on your terms when is the right time for you. Don't be forced into making any decisions just because, you know, somebody else's time frame has come across as feeling kind of urgent. Yeah. Take time. So learning to pause is one of the ways to do that. Then during the pause, here's some questions you can ask yourself. And this is kind of, you know, the basis of my questions as well. But do I really want to do this? Check in. How do you feel in your body? Do I want to do this? Is this something that I'm going to be like, yeah, woohoo, can't wait? Or is it something you're like in your body, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a nightmare. I really don't want to have to do that. So thinking about how that yes is making you feel, tuning in, does it make you feel stressed, overwhelmed, excited? Then thinking about what will I gain if I say yes? Okay. Now we don't do things to get things. But, you know, what will you gain? Maybe you'll gain experience. Maybe you'll gain a whole load of hassle. You know, what are you going to gain by saying yes? What positive outcomes come from it and what negative outcomes? If I say no, what will I do with the time? Okay, this is quite a great question to think about. If you feel that your diary is like full to brimming, you know, how will taking something else on affect that? If you weren't doing that, what would you do with that time? Is this yes or no pulling you closer to or further from your goals? So having a check-in with that. If you say yes, will you feel healthier? Will you feel more supported? Or will you feel more stressed and overwhelmed? So just checking in with yourself. These questions can be really helpful. You can find these questions in my book. I think it's chapter 3. But go check in and it'll help support you a bit there. Now, saying no doesn't have to be confrontational or difficult, but it really is a practice. And I know still to this day, sometimes, I mean, definitely a million times better, but still to this day, I'll find myself apologizing, you know, to friends or whoever. Oh no, I'm so sorry, I can't do that. And, you know, blah, 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 giving a million different reasons when actually, you know, a simple no is enough. And think about it as an act of self-love, as a way of protecting yourself, as a way of protecting your energy, honoring yourself, honoring your needs. So just checking in, utilizing the no, practicing the no. It's our human nature to want to be liked, to fit in, to be with the tribe. But know that by you saying no, you're also empowering other people as well to recognize, oh my gosh, she's actually said no, or he's actually said no. And the more we use the word no, sorry, I keep clearing my throat. I'm trying not to cough. The COVID cough is going, but I've been doing a lot of talking today. So yeah, you know, the more we use it, the more that word begins to lose its power. You know, you don't need to apologize or, you know, say, oh, I'm really sorry, but, you know, maybe next time. You can just say no. Okay. It's a answer. It's a full answer. when we have clear boundaries, and by that I mean when you know what you're trying to achieve, when you know what is acceptable to you and not acceptable to you, it makes decision making and saying no so much easier. And so I created questions for myself this year to really support my decision making. Excuse me, I'm actually going to take a sip of a drink. And I've had a couple of slip ups already this year. It's almost like the universe testing me, where I've said yes to things and I shouldn't have said yes. And they've left me feeling overwhelmed. But the lesson was there to say to Susie, check in with the questions. And I'm going to share mine with you now. You can use these, you can create your own, and let me know, just let me know what your questions are and if this supports you. So my first one, is this decision made from lack or faith and intuition? So sometimes I've made decisions in the past where I've agreed to do things because I'm like, oh, well, especially during COVID, for example, with my business, oh yeah, I'll do that. Because I'd lost like pretty much my business overnight and I agreed to things, for financial reasons, to things that I probably, I wouldn't have normally said yes to. And then here's another example of that decision. And I've used this question, is this decision made from lack or faith and intuition? And I've just made the decision this week to give every single person that applied for a scholarship to my 5 weeks to Calm course a place for free. And also to slash the course to half the price and give everyone a free 1 month's membership to Spirit and Soul. Is that made from lack? Absolutely not. I'm not going to be probably making money, but it's from intuition and faith because I know the impact I can make on these people's lives. And I know that the universe at some point in my life will afford, tenfold it back to me. So yeah, I made that decision through my intuition that I really wanted to support people. Does it bring me closer to my goals of 5 to 10 years? That's another question I have. Yes, that one does. How do I feel in my body? I felt amazing making that decision, being able to support people. But there's other decisions where I'm like, oh gosh, why? I can feel the contraction in my body. And that's one thing I would say, notice how your gut feels. Excuse me. Notice the contraction in your body. Now, this is a great one. And I was speaking about this with a friend yesterday. I love this question. I can be quite impulsive. Okay. If you haven't noticed. And this is one for me. How long have I been thinking about this decision? So how long have I been thinking about this decision? So checking it out. Okay, how long have you been thinking about the decision? Oh yeah, well, I just decided yesterday. Okay, you maybe want to think about that a little bit longer. So, take some time, check in. Is this something that keeps coming up for you? If it is something that keeps coming up for you, then okay, let's have a little think about that a bit more deeply and check in with that. What will this cost me? And what, this is similar to the one in the book about what will I gain, but for what will it cost me? Will it cost me my health? Will it cost me my time? Will it cost me time with my family? Will it cost me money? I've recently, a friend messaged me about an event that was coming up and, was I taking part in it? And I had said no, because my weekends are so valuable now that I want that time with my family, unless it's something that is completely mind-blowingly, incredibly awesome. Then I've got and this is where the boundaries come in. My boundaries are that I will only work 1 weekend a month, that I will only work 2 nights a week, because I have recognized how important that time is to me. Okay, next one. Will this cause me to bend my boundaries? So, that time at home for me is a big, one of my boundaries. Thinking about that, checking in, is it going to cause you to kind of maybe compromise your values or compromise your boundaries? Will this bring me positive emotions? So when you think about the answer to this question, does it make you excited? Does it make you joyful? slashing the price of the 5 weeks to calm. You know, my business coach was like, oh, you know, like that's like, you know, in theory, like a £300 worth course, and you are going to sell it for 49. And I am like, yes, I am, because I want people to experience it and have the benefits, and it makes me feel good. And when I feel good, I'm going to deliver a better course. So there you go. So positive emotions, think about how will that, you know, make you feel. Do you feel positive about that decision? Sometimes, you know, that positivity could just be a sense of relief. When you make a difficult decision, for example, and that decision's made, you might have that sense of lightness where you're like, might feel emotional, you might cry, but ultimately, you know, you'll know it's the right decision. What will happen if I say yes and do it? Or, you know, what will happen if I say no? So thinking about, okay, how, you know, the effects of that. What will happen if I say yes? What will happen if I say no? And just checking in with that. And then this is a great, I don't know if it was me that wrote this or just if I found this online or where, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. Bloody love that. And that is a great point to end on. And if you want to go, write that down, stick it on a post-it. If you're the kind of person that says yes to everything, have it on your screensaver, have it on your computer, have it anywhere on your phone. You know, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay, my loves, please reach out to me with any questions you have. I really hope that has supported you in thinking about your decision making as you go into the year, how things make you feel, what is going to be the impact of the decisions that you are making. I will pop a link in the show notes to my book and also to the 5 weeks to calm course if you think this is something that might interest you, might help you with that little pause in the, you know, the saying no, or thinking about the, you know, the outcome of any decisions that you make. But yeah, please reach out with any questions. I am always here to support you in any way I can. And yeah, I cannot wait to connect with you next week. Have a beautiful week, my loves.